What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more acid trance, and we're back with one of the two Vervolet remixes of Bismarck's My World. And indeed, I don't know if it's, historically I said Jan Vervolet, but it's Jan. Recently, within the last year, about a year and a half ago, a great friend of the channel, who's the person who introduced me to Roxette, by the way, and who made their initial couple albums available, as well as other stuff that I still haven't gotten to. So shout out to Jan, and again, he made clear that he pronounced his name Jan. So now, and it's spelled the same way as Mr. Vervolet. So now I don't know if it's Jan Vervolet, maybe it's Jan Vervolet. Either way, this is a record I don't have. I mentioned it when I reacted to the Silver Moon mix recently, that there's a colored splatter vinyl with two mixes from Jan Vervolet. I think they're a couple years after the original release, so maybe like 99 or something to that effect. But ultimately, one of the mixes I was able to find online years later, and that mix is what we're going to listen to now. It's just listed as the Jan Vervolet remix, so I don't know if it's remix 1 or 2, because there's two remixes on his colored splatter vinyl or remix vinyl of My World. And it's not indicated in the track that I found online years back, so I'm going to assume remix 1, just because if you were going to list one of the remixes without specifying, maybe 1 seems more likely in that regard, but I don't know that for sure. Either way, this is one of the Vervolet remixes of Bismarck's My World, and I believe it came out a couple years after the original, which was 97. Sounds like both the clubby mix and the Pablo Gargano mix right here. Like the pace and atmosphere is more like the clubby mix, but that's the aspect that's really prominent in the Pablo version. Now a little melody. And now this makes the parts more off on its own. I'm remembering. You can hear it coming. A new melodic flourish for this version. And then the acid engine. This grinding acid. Layered acid. Tune. It's like, I don't know if it's that like greener pastures thing, but like because it's the one version that I'm aware of, and again there's another remix on this same record that I don't have, it's like, man, maybe that's my favorite. So yeah, again, I'd say it's closest to the clubby mix. It bears a lot of similarities to the clubby mix, but there's a moment where it's running that sort of bass riff cycle that reminds me of the real sort of the epic part of the Pablo mix, where it breaks down for a second and that's the only part that's rolling, and then it does the, drops back in. And what's the sample that We Ought to Know? I forget what the Pablo uses, a totally like introduced sample, like unique to his version. But yeah, it reminded me of that. And so yeah, I'd say maybe it's the the least like the Silver Moon version, and yet the melody that comes in the latter stages of that one, it's sort of a melodic trance flourish that's not unlike the slightly different sounding one in the Silver Moon. I was saying it sounds kind of like xylophone, or like almost like Eastern musical styles, but yeah, so again, I'd say this one is most like the clubby mix, but there's some moments that remind me of the other versions. And yeah, I just love the way the acid plays out in this one. It's, it's already got sort of these kind of not overly saturated, but these sort of like light acid warbles. And then it goes into that melodic breakdown, and you feel the build coming, it's going to be a sort of a melodic trance break. But the way the acid engines at the lower part of the track turn on when it comes back. First time I heard that, I didn't expect it. Like, I was ready for it this time because I've heard the tune a number of times. But the first time I was like, oh, what? Like, because then it suddenly has grit even as it's up top doing that lovely little keyboard melodic runs. So, yeah, I love the composition and the progression of this one. And then again, by the end, it's like that lower acid engine with all those warbles on top, so it has this very layered feel. So, top version. Again, one day I hope to get that record. I looked recently; there are a few copies still available. So, despite it being as old as it is, it's still a possibility. So we'll look forward to that. And then at that point, we can see which of the two mixes that actually was and what the other one is like. So, something to do for the future. Well, guess what? I've got an update to this video. Immediately after shooting, I went and checked online, and sure enough, I found out that that was Remix 1 that we listened to. Remix 2 is fantastic as well, very similar, but a bit different. And because there's awesome people who support this channel, including not just on Patreon, but a couple folks who often donate outside of Patreon, I'm going to give a big shout out to Kim and Stefan. Because of them, I was just able to order a near mint copy of the John or Jan Vervolet remixes of Bismark My World. So it's going to be on its way to my place very soon, arriving on Acid Techno Street, or I suppose in this case Acid Trance Street. So yeah, again, we're going to be able to go through those two mixes properly, although with this one in tow, we'll just listen to the second one. But the point is, they will both end up in my mixes soon, and we will be able to do a reaction to the second version. So big shout out to Jan Vervolet, I'm going to guess now. Big shout out to Bismark, a big shout out to all the folks who's followed these reactions in the trance and techno. I'm thinking, again, Michaela, Han Solo, all the folks who show up in the different walks of my channel. But again, big shout out to Kim and Stefan who enabled me to get a copy of the record. So we'll be talking about that one soon. Peace.